Welcome to Daily Variety, your daily dose of news and analysis for entertainment industry insiders. It's Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025. I'm your host, Cynthia Littleton. I am co-editor-in-chief of Variety alongside Ramin Satuda. I'm in LA, he's in New York, and Variety has reporters around the world covering the business of entertainment. In today's episode, we'll talk to Dan D'Addario, Variety's chief correspondent, for our cover story segment. In this week's print edition, Dan dives into the world of FX and showrunner Noah Hawley to capture all that is on the line for both with the dawn of Alien Earth on August 12th. And we hear from Adam B. Vary about what to expect when San Diego Comic-Con begins tomorrow. He also gives us some color on his recent interview with Marvel chief Kevin Feige. It was an unusually candid session. Feige acknowledged head-on that Marvel has simply been overextended in recent years. But before we get to that, here are a few headlines just in this morning that you need to know. Variety has unveiled this year's Power of Young Hollywood honorees. Singer Tyla, Stranger Things star Finn Wolfhard, and Sam Nivola of White Lotus fame will be saluted on August 6th in our print edition on digital and at our invite-only event the following day. Series orders have been flying. Netflix has renewed Wednesday for Season 3. NBC has given a series order to cheerleading comedy Stumble from Universal Television, and Starz has given an 18-episode order to Power Origins, a prequel series revolving around the characters of Ghost and Tommy. And R.I.P. Ozzy Osbourne, who died Tuesday at age 76. What a career. Our music team is working hard to pay tribute to the legendary artist who defined the sound of hard rock vocals for many decades. Now we turn to conversations with Variety journalists about news and trends in show business. For today's cover story segment, chief correspondent Dan D'Addario details his epic journey into Noah Hawley land with his inside look at Alien Earth. Dan D'Addario, chief correspondent for Variety, thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thanks for having me.
Dan, you wrote this week's cover story all about Alien Earth, which is a truly big bet that FX is making on another event series. Tell me, as you've covered many shows, you've reviewed many shows for us in your previous life as a chief TV critic, from what you learned about the production and the backstory, what stands out to you as unique about Alien Earth?
Well, I think that in the years since FX became part of the Walt Disney Company after the 2019 merger, they've gone from the scrappy upstart network that punched above weight to a network that has the capability to make really big investments in things. You saw this last year with Shogun, which was an international production of stunning levels of craft. This show is even bigger. FX's president of entertainment, Gina Balian, told me that it was a larger investment of capital, and also it is just as big as it gets. I mean, Shogun was an international production that had dazzling levels of craft and a huge sprawling cast. This is that, but also with alien spaceships crashing into cities. And the xenomorph, the famous creature from Ridley Scott's Alien film from 1979 and its sequels, prowling around, eviscerating people. It is a level of ambition that recalls Game of Thrones a decade ago. And it's exciting that something so truly cinematic.
FX is known for its signature, for its stylish look. You know what an FX show is. And it'll be interesting to see how they apply that to Alien, a well-established franchise that has tent poles and pillars in the minds of fans. So it's a swing for them in a number of ways. Let me ask you, from your vantage point, so you talked to everybody, you did the 360 reporting from the executives to the creatives to the stars, but what was your sense from FX executives? There's so much on the line, and again, the bar is high with Shogun. Did you get a sense of nervousness? Did you get a sense of real confidence? They can't wait to get this out?
I would say the differentiation is that with Shogun, there was a sense of nervousness. I think that that's no secret. I think with this, there was a sense of excitement. I think that they proved they could do it with Shogun, granted a very different thing, but they hijacked the zeitgeist with this piece of IP and transformed it and made it new and made it fit for television. I think they believe they've done it again.
Of course, you're reminding me as we're speaking that you also did a great piece on Shogun just before its launch. So you are the perfect person to put this all into perspective for FX. But yes, FX and Shogun really worked around the world for Disney+. You segue nicely into Noah Hawley. Why did FX pick Noah Hawley as the person to adapt Alien?
Well, Noah is an idea machine. He said something interesting when we spoke there wasn't room for it to make it into the story, which is years and years ago, 8 years ago, FX approached him and said, if we ever got the rights and the stars aligned, would you have an idea for an Alien show? And he said something along the lines of, if you ask me if I'm going to have an idea, I will. And so he just has the capacity to think expansively about this universe. As he pointed out to me, Alien, unlike Star Wars, unlike Star Trek, there's not a lot of mythology to it. So that provides a clear, flat plane in which you can build anything you want. We know there are alien creatures. We know there is commercial space exploration and commerce. That's pretty much it. And so into this universe, he's extrapolated the way the government works. There is no more government. The world is ruled by corporations in a literal sense. It is a hot, wet world because that's how he extrapolates the climate will change. And AI, incidentally, which has become the defining issue of our time, is completely transforming every aspect of life down to the protagonist played by Sydney Chandler, who is a human's consciousness inside a robotic shell. I suppose that's not AI, it's real intelligence, it's artificial being. Yeah.
I was saying that what you're describing, it's sounding less and less like science fiction.
8 years ago, it was science fiction.
As you
now
speak.
It reads like the newspaper. Gina Balian told me he wrote up, 5 pages as just a pitch if he were ever able to do this 8 years ago. And every element in his pitch made it to the show in its final form. He's a novelist. He's written and directed feature films. And he has the ability to hop through this IP world without having it feel like a crass brand extension. It's Alien, but it is fundamentally a Noah Hawley show as well.
Players here are Sydney Chandler, who plays the lead character, Timothy Olyphant, who is also no stranger to FX from the Justified universe. He's back. He is in this series as a key role. What is your sense of the kind of the ensemble here? Do you think that this is going to be a star-making machine for some of the ensemble players?
Yes, I do. I think that a key element of the show is that Sydney Chandler, who is the show's lead, plays effectively the leader of a troop of children in adult bodies. She goes by Wendy, and they are her lost boys, as in Neverland. And that ensemble of young adult actors recalls to me, say, Maisie Williams and Sophie Turner and Kit Harington on Game of Thrones, or more to the present day, the younger actors on House of the Dragon. It is a lineup of killer actors. I would also spotlight Babu Sise, who has a fantastic role as he begins the series on a ship, kind of like the one Sigourney Weaver traverses the universe on in the Alien films. And he has complex motivations that would be unfair to spoil, but he gets a very big spotlight. He's a fantastic actor with whom I was not familiar, and he does a really great job. Oliphant and Essie Davis, who played a key role in the film The Babadook, are the known quantities. And as with shows like Game of Thrones or The Last of Us, Chandler inhabits, as Hawley pointed out to me, it is a franchise that has historically been fronted by a lead actress. The same was true in last summer's Alien film with Kaylee Spaney, and now Chandler steps into that role.
You're whetting my appetite to check this out. I want to address it's in your cover story. It's a prominent part of your cover story. There was a bit of a hiccup with our cover photo shoot session with Sydney Chandler. We had very much hoped and planned to have her on the cover. There was a number of things that came up and some conversations that were had, and the upshot was that she did not participate in the photo shoot. We were disappointed, but of course, respect her decision as an artist to make the choice that she needs to and draw the boundaries that she needs to. In this world, I think we all have to respect that.
We had already spoken, Sydney and I, for what I thought was going to be our only conversation for the piece. And she was enthusiastic about the show, enthusiastic about her experience, but very clear-eyed about the fact that it had been a challenge for her. She described her experience as difficult. And I kind of chalked it up to production being challenging in the best of times. this did give me a moment of pause that she was taking a step back from the promotion. I was able to get back on the phone with her, and she made clear that there were certain boundaries. She is a performer who wants to be known for the quality of her work and not for elements of her life. I would describe both of our conversations as very thoughtful, unusually so. Chandler, who incidentally grew up in Austin, not Hollywood, with her parents. Her father is the actor Kyle Chandler. Always intended to be a writer, not an actor, and I recognize the spirit of a writer, the pensiveness. And we of course, as an institution, respect her decision. It is unfortunate that the lead of the show isn't on the cover, and we felt we had to address it and talk about it. And it gives a new perspective on that. Yes, it was challenging for her to be part of the production. It doesn't mean she disavows the show. And if the show goes more seasons, she and Noah Hawley want for her to be a part of it. So I think this is the beginning of a long career for someone who is super talented.
Let me conclude, Dan, by asking you, drawing on your background as a TV critic, how do you think this is going to perform for FX? Do you think their investment will be well placed?
I believe so. I think this has the makings of a huge hit. I think there is such a core affection for the Alien franchise that even film entries in recent years that have been of varying quality have been embraced by the fandom. And I think this is of high quality. I think that fans will not be disappointed. They will get everything they love about the franchise, plus the secret sauce of Hawley's extrapolations and visions of the future. So I think there is a lot to appreciate in this, and I think that it will go duly appreciated by people who are looking forward to it. I think they have a lot to look forward to.
Dan, thank you so much. Listeners, please go get a print copy of Variety or go find the story on Variety.com. Dan, as ever, thank you for your reporting.
Thanks for having me. I appreciated the chance to get to do this story.
Next up, we'll hear from Adam B. Vary on what's happening and what's not happening this year at Comic-Con. He also shares impressions of his recent sit-down with Marvel chief Kevin Feige. Adam B. Vary, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me here.
You are getting ready for your Super Bowl, which is San Diego Comic-Con. And you and Angelique Jackson sat down for Variety with Kevin Feige, the main man of Marvel, who has been steering the MCU to great heights for nearly a decade. But there have been some stumbles in recent years. Adam, what did you find? What did Feige want to get across to you?
Yeah, he met with a group of journalists at Marvel headquarters in Burbank, and first of all, it was just a rare thing that, basically any syllable that Kevin Feige utters makes news. So he's become more and more careful about when and how he gives interviews. But privately, Marvel executives have been talking for a while now about how much they've needed to change course. And this was the first time Feige had really gone on the record in a real robust way to address all of the difficulties they've been having and, make his assessment of what has been going wrong and how they're going to be sort of riding the ship, as it were, and looking to their future.
Mm-hmm. What was Feige's diagnosis for kind of what set them off track?
Feige basically confirmed in a way what Disney's CEO Bob Iger has been saying multiple times for a while now, actually, which is that they made too much. He cited that what's called the Infinity Saga, the series of movies that came out between 2008 and 2019, that was about 50 hours worth of content. But since then, because of the advent of Disney Plus, they've made, including animation, I think over 120 hours of content in half the time. And Feige said flatly, that's too much. And he said that after the enormous triumph that was Avengers Endgame, they wanted to enter a period, and the way he phrased it was of experimentation and evolution. That's how you get movies like Eternals with Chloe Zhao or Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings. Whereas they were making at most 3 movies a year at all, and that was it. Sometimes they had upwards of 9 to 10 titles on film and television coming out in a calendar year. And that just massive increase in volume really, diluted the brand, diluted their quality. At one point he said, for the first time, quantity trumped quality. And, that's a pretty blunt assessment for what went wrong. I think the crux of what had been going wrong for them.
Disney, as we know, has shifted a lot of gears to put so much into Disney Plus. We know that the increase came because of the real need to feed Disney Plus. So very interesting. Business school students will no doubt be parsing his words. What did he say in terms of here's what we're going to do to kind of get back into that sort of that sweet spot of fans love it?
A lot of it is just sort of turning the hose down, as it were. He said at most, they'll be making 3 movies a year, sometimes only 2 or 1. And on the live action television front, he said there'll be years where they'll only have 1 show. And I think, in fact, next year that will likely be the case. They'll have a show based on the character of Vision, headed by Paul Bettany. I don't think they have anything else on the docket for them. But I think more than that, they also have the benefit of being able to start making X-Men movies. The X-Men, I think, are next to, Spider-Man, just sort of like across the board, separate from anything that else. Probably Marvel's most popular characters, but those characters belonged to 20th Century Fox for a long time. Once Disney acquired 20th Century Fox in 2019, those characters came over to Marvel.
So segueing into Comic-Con now, that starts Thursday, runs through Sunday. What are you expecting this year?
Well, as I said, Marvel's not going, and Marvel is always the sort of 800-pound gorilla at Comic-Con, so their absence makes it a quieter festival. DC is also not going to have a large presence there. They're only going to bring one of their shows, Peacemaker Season 2, which James Gunn is a major architect for, James Gunn being the co-chief of the new DC studios. So he'll be there to show that off, but they may take a bit of a victory lap about Superman at that panel. But
I would bet on it.
I would bet on it. But you won't see, I don't think we should anticipate seeing a preview of Supergirl, which is their movie coming out next year. They're going to have a sort of a very quiet presence too. So it's just generally going to be a little bit of a quieter Comic-Con. There's a Ryan Gosling movie called Project Hail Mary, directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. They're going to have a big preview there. And then I think the thing that's going to be big for the kind of geeks is there's a remake of a movie called The Toxic Avenger. If you're a big sort of grade Z genre fan, you'll know that property. It's by a company called Troma. And Peter Dinklage is playing the Toxic Avenger. And on the TV front, Alien Earth is going to have a big presence. They're going to premiere the first episode and then have a panel. The 2 Star Trek shows are going to be there, Star Trek Strange New Worlds and the new show, Star Trek Starfleet Academy. And that people get their first look at that. There'll be the 2nd season of Gen V, the spinoff of The Boys. There'll be fun things here and there, but overall, I think you won't expect the kind of sort of Titanic news that usually comes out of Comic-Con.
You can have a little more contemplative time as you walk around Hall H and everything else. Adam, thank you as ever for keeping all of this mythology and characters and brands and capes and tights, keeping all that straight. We really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
As we close out today's episode, here's a few things we're watching for. The Netflix documentary, The Truth About Jussie Smollett, is generating a lot of advance buzz. The doc from the documentary shop Raw revisits the 2019 incident involving the Empire star. It's set to bow August 22nd. Buckingham Nicks returns. The legendary 1973 album released by Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham shortly before they joined Fleetwood Mac has been out of print for more than 40 years. It'll be re-released by Rhino Records on September 19th. Woohoo! Before we go, congrats to Annika Jones. She's joined Maxine Productions as Executive VP of Development and Current. She was previously Chief Content Officer for Left Right Productions. Maxine Productions is part of the Unscripted group at Sony Pictures TV. This episode was written and reported by me, Cynthia Littleton, with contributions from Dan D'Addario and Adam Biveri. It was edited by Aaron Greenwald. Sticks, Nicks, Hick Picks. Thanks for listening. Please leave us a review at the podcast platform of your choice. And please tune in tomorrow for another episode of Daily Variety.